In the ancient kingdom of Macedon, the birth of Alexander in 356 BCE was heralded by omens of greatness. His mother, Olympias, claimed divine ancestry, instilling in Alexander the belief that he was the son of Zeus. His father, King Philip II, a master tactician and visionary, forged Macedon into a dominant power. From a young age, Alexander was groomed for greatness, but this grooming came with immense expectations and immense pressure. The courtyard of the royal palace was quiet, save for the murmur of Aristotle's voice. Alexander, no more than 13, sat with rapt attention as his tutor spoke of philosophy, governance, and the mysteries of the natural world. To lead, Aristotle said, tracing the borders of the known world on a map, is not merely to conquer, but to understand. The soul of a ruler is judged not by what he takes, but by what he builds. Alexander nodded, though his mind wandered to tales of Achilles and Hercules, heroes who achieved eternal glory. He wanted to be remembered not just as a king, but as a legend. "And what of destiny?" he asked. Aristotle hesitated before replying. "Destiny is shaped by ambition, but ambition unchecked can destroy even the greatest of men." In the training field, a black stallion named Bucephalus thrashed wildly, refusing every attempt to tame him. The gathered crowd of nobles muttered their doubts about the young prince. "I'll ride him," Alexander declared, his voice cutting through the noise. The onlookers laughed, but Alexander's father, Philip, gestured for silence. With careful observation, Alexander realized the horse was spooked by its shadow. Turning Bucephalus toward the sun, he mounted the animal and rode him across the field, triumphant. As the crowd erupted in cheers, Philip approached his son. "My boy," he said, pride gleaming in his eyes. "Seek kingdoms worthy of your courage. Macedon will not be enough." Years later, tragedy struck when King Philip was assassinated during a public celebration. Blood pooled on the marble floor as Alexander knelt by his father's body. "They've stolen him from me," he murmured, fury etched into his face. At just 20 years old, Alexander ascended to the throne. His first challenge was to quash internal rebellions and assert control over the fractured kingdom. In a show of unyielding strength, he crushed his enemies swiftly, earning the loyalty of his people. With Macedon secure, Alexander turned his gaze eastward to Persia, the mightiest empire of the time. Crossing the Hellespont with his army, he declared, "We march not to plunder, but to write our names in history." The battles that followed tested Alexander's genius and resolve. At Granicus, he narrowly escaped death, striking fear into the heart of the Persian king, Darius III. At Issus, Alexander's outnumbered forces outmaneuvered the Persian army, capturing Darius's family. The defining moment came at Gaugamela, where Alexander faced Darius's vast forces on an open plain. The night before the battle, Alexander walked among his men, offering words of encouragement. "They fight for gold," he said. "We fight for glory. Let this night be remembered forever." At dawn, Alexander's army clashed with the Persians. Leading a decisive cavalry charge, he broke through the enemy lines, forcing Darius to flee. As the Persian forces crumbled, Alexander stood victorious, crowned as king of Asia. With Persia under his control, Alexander sought to unite East and West. He adopted Persian customs, married Roxana, a Bactrian princess, and encouraged his soldiers to do the same. His dream was to create a world where cultures blended seamlessly, but not all shared his vision. Some of his men, weary from years of campaigning, began to question his judgment. His generals whispered dissent, and Alexander's once unbreakable bond with his troops started to fray. Amidst these challenges, Alexander faced his greatest personal loss. Hephaestion, his lifelong companion and confidant, fell ill and died. Alexander was inconsolable, declaring, "He was my other self." Consumed by grief, Alexander threw himself into grand plans, ordering immense monuments and planning new campaigns. But his spirit had dimmed, and his relentless drive began to take a toll on his health. In Babylon, Alexander fell gravely ill after a night of feasting. As he lay on his deathbed, his generals surrounded him, desperate for guidance. When asked who should inherit his empire, Alexander whispered, "To the strongest." With those words, the great conqueror closed his eyes for the last time. His death at just 32 left his empire, a sprawling realm from Greece to India, in chaos. Alexander's dream of a unified world remained unfulfilled, but his legacy endured. He inspired countless leaders and reshaped history, blending cultures and laying the groundwork for the Hellenistic age. His story is one of ambition, brilliance, and the cost of greatness, a reminder that even legends are human,